With repeated practice, I found Dr. Iziros's visualization breathing exercise progressively beneficial in my recovery. Substituting the remembered sense of euphoria derived from a positive experience when I had successfully confronted past problems for the empty and unfulfilled feelings I felt when revisited by urges and craving for junk food and alcohol began to work wonders for me, especially when using this technique before going to sleep. At first, I still was bothered by those worrisome nightmares. When one of those cravings was present, I'd recall the sensation of not succumbing to temptation. The dreams never ceased altogether, but they had less of a negative impact on my sense of well-being. The twins had asked if there were any pantry items I wanted them to pick up prior to my return home. During my time in rehab, I developed a new habit. Instead of drinking soda pop, my drink of choice became seltzer mixed with unsweetened cranberry juice and a wedge of lemon or lime. Every little bit helped, right? And my girls, being my girls, promised my only wish would be their command. The kindly Shantzes once again provided the car service for my return. Anya and Noika, of course, came along for the ride, and the conversation along the way home was relaxed and congenial. The girls were nearing the end of their first university semester and already planning their courses for the next. They told me that they planned to ace their exams and keep up their grades to the anticipated current level of this period. Here I'll attempt to paraphrase their words in the way in which they were spoken. Dad, we're settling for nothing less than the Dean's List. It was good to go home again with my 2 carrot tops. I cherished my return as much as my sobriety. While Chris's daughters were in class, the Shantzes would periodically stop by to check in on me, partly to see to my overall health and partly to ensure I hadn't fallen off the wagon. I hadn't, and in fact I'd begun attending nearby AA meetings every day. Besides, I had more important things to do than drink. Chris's ghost had not returned. Because part of my recent treatment had encouraged keeping a journal and making entries about feelings and memories, and since much of what I wrote in it was about my family, I'd attempt to fulfill a lifelong dream. I'd write a book. Serious writing was one of those things I've always wanted to do but never did, so why not start now? It was a no-brainer. It was not only good therapy, but it would tick off an item on the old bucket list. To set words to paper, well, actually on a laptop hard drive, to share with the world what made me happiest in my life, my book would be all about my wonderful years with Chris and her daughters. Once upon a time, I'd snuck drinks and junk food. Now I was sneaking my thoughts about my family into a computer. Why was I being a sneak? Because until I knew for sure I'd see this project through to the end, no one saw a word I wrote. But after several weeks of writing, I was as dedicated as much to this book as I was to be sober and my AA meets. Charles Bukowski, one of my favourite Beat Generation authors, once was quoted saying something like, "To be a writer, just write. Because every time you're not writing, you're not a writer." Okay, simple enough. Well then, let me share a little secret. The writing part was easy. It was the rewriting, editing, re-editing, then re-editing and proofreading over and over again that separates the men from the boys in literature. But I stuck with it. A minute here and a minute there added up to hours and days over time. There were now 4 chapters done to my satisfaction. The first episode was titled Keep Doing You. This was followed by Chris's Daughters, Prognosis and Supper with the Wojciechs. I'd even begun a new one called Waiting Room Blues. The next night, during a dinner of grilled salmon, wild rice, spinach, salad with light balsamic vinaigrette, while the girls sipped their Coca-Colas and I had my cranberry seltzer with a floater, my word for the citrus fruit wedge, the twins asked what I'd been up to that day. "I've been working on my book." "You're writing a book? What's it about, Dad?" "It's about our family and the times we've had together." "So when can we read it?" "I've only 4 chapters done so far and don't know if any of it's any good. My writing, that is, not the memories. Well, there are some bad memories too, but I now understand when I look back, and that with the right perspective, even in the latter there is a way to see some good. Would you like to read what I have so far? Strange, yeah, Dad. Can we see them now? Thus, after enjoying the delicious dinner my daughters had prepared, and before I'd washed the dishes, I took the laptop from my bedroom, opened a folder labelled Chris and her daughters, and gave it to them to read. As they took the mobile device into our living room, I told them, and you're under no obligation to say it's good or anything at all for that matter. I'm writing it for me, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it, okay? But hey, if you wanted to start a fan club for me, that's fine. You could even be the co-presidents of it if you like. To this, the laughter that was so like their mother's filled our home. We initiated that Dad fan club years and years ago. As I did the dishes, I heard from the other room some laughter first, next what sounded like a sob or two, and then the two talking. Oh my God, we really like this, and you have to let us read more, Dad. When content with each new edition, I shared it with the two children, of whom I may never have been their father, but unquestionably I'd always be their dad.